Welcome, everyone. This is Brother Doug. I am with my sister Shoshana, my brother Dennis, and our sister Sally. To my left, you might not be able to see her. Just letting you guys know, she's on the phone, so I don't know if her box will come up on the screen on YouTube, but she's also with us. We are the Awakened by Yahuwah Assembly. We're believers in Yahushua Messiah and Yahuwah Almighty Father, and we are going to be doing a study today about the last great day. It's the 8th day of the feast, and some actually believe that it's, a separate feast to itself. So we are going to be actually going into the scriptures about specifically the last great day, which is also known as the 8th day. So we are going to be going, I think first would be important to go to Leviticus 23:36 because it specifically talks about this day. And it's Leviticus chapter 23, verse 36. And that says, here we go. Just bear with me, people.
You want me to read it?
Yeah, sure.
For 7 days you bring an offering made by fire to Yahuwah. On the 8th day there shall be a Kadesh gathering for you, and you shall bring an offering made by fire to Yahuwah. It is a closing festival. You do no servile work.
Yep. And there is a little difference. It's not a big deal, but there's a little difference with certain translations. We actually call it the closing festival, which kind of makes sense. It might have been an assumption because this is the last fall festival, and it also has a spiritual inclination that all flesh is closed on this festival. So not a big deal. But some translations will say that, and some won't have it. But spiritually, I think I would agree that it is a type of a closing festival because it's like some traditions even say it's like the closing of probation or whatever probation period, like supposedly to come to repentance and all that. So, but I agree it's like a type of closing festival because it's the last really of the fall feast. Then we have to wait like all the way to the next part of this year to get back to the feast days. Like we gotta wait until spring comes to get to Passover. So in that way too, it's technically a closing feast. So
I found some more scripture here.
All right, verse 26.
Ezekiel.
Yeah. So was that Ezekiel or was that?
I'm in Ezekiel.
Oh, okay.
Ezekiel 36, verse 25, talks about the day when Yahuwah says, I shall give you a new heart and put a new spirit within you. I shall take the heart of flesh and the heart of stone out of your flesh, and I will give you a heart of flesh, and put my ruach within you. And I shall cause you to walk in my laws and guard my right rulings and do them. And you shall dwell in the land I gave to your fathers, and you shall be my people, and I shall be your Elohim. And I shall save you from all your uncleannesses, and I shall call for the grain and increase it, and I shall bring no scarcity of food upon you. And I shall increase the fruit of your trees and increase of your yield, the yield of your fields, so that you need never again bear the reproach of scarcity of food among the Gentiles. And you shall remember your evil ways and your deeds that were not good, and you shall loathe yourselves in your own eyes for your wickednesses and your abominations. Not for your sake am I acting, declares Master Yahuwah. Let it be known to you. Be ashamed and blush for your ways, O house of Israel. Thus says the Master Yahuwah. On the day that I cleanse you from all your wickednesses, I shall cause the cities to be inhabited, and the ruined places to be rebuilt, and the land that was laid waste tilled, instead of being a ruin before the eyes of all who pass by. And they shall say, this land that was laid waste has become like the garden of Eden, and the wasted, the deserted, and the destroyed cities are now walled and inhabited. And then the Gentiles, which are all around you, shall know that I, Yahuwah, have rebuilt the destroyed places and planted what was laid waste. I, Yahuwah, have spoken it, and I shall do it. Thus said the Master Yahuwah, once again I shall let the house of Yisrael inquire of me to do for them. I shall increase their men like a flock, as a Kadesh flock, as the flock at Jerusalem. At her appointed time, so shall the wasted cities be filled with flocks of men, and they shall know that I am Yahuwah. Now this could possibly be speaking of the end of this age when the kingdom begins, but it goes into Ezekiel 37 when he speaks of the resurrection of the greater part of the dead, which is the second resurrection, and you can find that in Revelation.
And I just want to say something too. A lot of times prophecy has like multiple fulfillments. Sometimes some of it's fulfilled at one point, and some of it's not fulfilled until the end times. Like verse 31 really spoke out to me when it says, "You shall remember your evil ways and your practices that were not good, or not too. You shall be hateful in your own sight," meaning that you'll look yourself in the mirror and hate yourself. Hey, I can relate to this. This has definitely been fulfilled for me spiritually. In your own sight for your transgressions and for your abominations. So, verse 31, I think, has been fulfilled in some people's lives. That's been fulfilled already.
For the first fruits.
For the first fruits, because in a way, you're like, I hate who I was and what I became. Mm-hmm. So I just wanted to point that out in verse 31. You're repentant.
Yes.
You're fully repentant to the point where you hate who you used to be. Which,
let's go to Revelation 20, verse 5.
All right, so 20, verse 5. And let's see here. We're gonna be reading like all the way down to 15 because all of this has to do with.
And actually start at the end of verse 4 where it talks about the first fruits.
Yeah.
And they lived and reigned with Messiah for 1,000 years.
And I saw thrones, and they sat upon them. Judgment was given unto them. And I saw the spirits of them that were beheaded for the witness of Yahusha, for the word of Yahuwah, and which had not worshipped the beast, neither his image, neither had received his mark upon their foreheads or in their hands. And they lived and reigned with Messiah 1,000 years.
Yeah, that was the end part of verse 4 I just read.
Yeah.
Just recount.
But the rest of the dead lived not again until the 1,000 years were finished. This is the first resurrection, meaning that the rest of the dead will be resurrected in the second resurrection. That's good. Then we go down to verse 6. It says, "Baruch and set apart is he that has part in the first resurrection. On such the second death has no power. But they shall be priests of Yahuwah and of Messiah, shall reign with him 1,000 years. And when the 1,000 years are expired, Hashatan, Satan, shall be loosed out of his prison and shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the four quarters or corners of the earth, Gog and Magog, to gather them together to battle. The number of whom is as the sand of the sea. They went up on the breadth of the earth and encompassed her, surrounded the camp, set part ones about in the beloved city, and fire came down from Yahuwah out of heaven and devoured them. And the adversary, or commonly titled the devil, that deceived them was cast into the lake of fire and brimstone, where the beast and false prophet are, and shall be tormented day and night forever and ever. And I saw a great white throne, and him that sat on it, whose face the earth and heaven fled away. There was found no place for them. And I saw the dead, small and great, stand before Yahuwah, and the books were opened. Another book was opened, which is the book of life. The dead were judged out of those things which were written in the books according to their works. And the sea gave up the dead which were in it, and death and Sheol delivered up the dead which were in them. And they were judged every man according to their works. Death and Sheol were cast into the lake of fire. This is the second death. And whosoever was not found written in the book of life was cast into the lake of fire. Now, we will be cross-referencing Enoch here about not written in the book of life. I think it's important to cross-reference that because it talks about Enoch chapter 108 talks about that you can be blotted out of the book of life for lawlessness. So I want to actually see here. I think I got it on my phone here, the Hollow Scriptures version here. Let's see here. Just so it's a little easier for me. Here we go. All right. Chapter 108, and this says, the appendix to the book of Enoch, or Hanuk. Another book which Hanuk, aka Enoch, wrote for his son Methuselah, for those who will come after him and keep the law in the last days. You who have done good or tube shall wait for those days till an end is made of those who work evil, and the end of the strength of the transgressors, and wait indeed till lawlessness has passed away, for their name shall be blotted out of the book of high or light, and out of the Kadash books. We probably talking about the subpart books that talk about the works, the deeds, that were all judged accordingly. And their seed shall be destroyed forever, and their spirit shall be slain, and they shall in a place that is a wilderness of confusion, and fire they shall burn, for there is no earth there. And I saw there what looks like an invisible cloud because of its depth. I could not look over, and I saw a flame of fire blazing brightly, and like shining mountains circling and sweeping to and fro. And I asked one of the Kadash, Malachim, angels, who was with me, and said unto him, what is this shining? For it is not the heavens, the Shamayim, but only the flame of a blazing fire, the voice of weeping and crying and lamentation, strong pain. He said unto me, this place which you see here are the cast spirits of the transgressors and blasphemers, and those who work wickedness, and those who pervert all matters that Yahuwah has spoken through the mouth of the Nabim, the matters that shall be. So right here, to iterate really quick, this is the spiritual curse that can be reflected back to Deuteronomy 28 that talks about the Baruchins and cursing. So this is a spiritual curse for those that have not accepted Yahushua, those that have committed lawlessness, that have blasphemed the Father Yahuwah, as it says here in Enoch. And as I continue to read here, he says, and he said unto me, this place which you see here are cast the spirits, transgressors and blasphemers, those who work wickedness, those who pervert all matters that Yahuwah has spoken through the mouth of the Nabim or prophets, the matters that shall be. For some of them are written and inscribed above in the heavens, in order that the Malachim may read them and know that which shall befall the transgressors, the spirits of the humble, of those who have afflicted their bodies and have been repaid by Yahuwah, and of those who have been put to shame by wicked men, who love Yahuwah and love neither gold nor silver nor any of the pleasures which are in the world, but gave over their bodies to torture, who since they came into being did not long after earthly food, but regard all matters as a passing breath, and lived accordingly. And Yahuwah tried them much, and their spirits were found pure, so that they should barak his name. Now this is the being repaid for the good, the two things, the actual Baruchins for the humble, for people that are in the belief that actually deny themselves, afflict themselves, and don't love the things of the world, and just
or allow ourselves to be afflicted by the evil ones.
Which can be referred to the Great Tribulation, and possibly a lot of this has to do with the martyrs. Not everyone's going to be a martyr, but there will be martyrs for Yahusha, and this could be talking about being physically afflicted, like being tortured and killed, who since they came into being, verse 9, did not long after earthly food, but regard all matters as a passing breath, and lived accordingly. And Yahuwah tried them much, being tested them, and their spirits were found pure, so that they should barak his name. And all the barak destined for them, the barakings destined for them, I have recounted in the books, and he has assigned them their repayment, because they have been found to be such as love the heavens more than their life in the world. Basically, when Yahushua says, store your treasure up in heaven, he's quoting from here. So he's basically saying the same thing. He's saying, keep wherever your treasure is stored, wherever your heart is stored up, that's where your treasure is. So they love the heavens, not the earth. not the earthly things, but the heavenly matters they focused on. And so it talks about that, having been found to be such as love the heavens more than their life in the world, though they were trodden underfoot of the wicked men and experienced abuse and reviling from them, and were put to shame, yet they barak me. And now I will summon the spirits of good of two who belong to the generation of light, and I will transform those who were born in darkness. And now this is talking about the corruption, putting on incorruption when we get our resurrected bodies. Transform those who were born in darkness, who in the flesh were not repaid with such honor as their trustworthiness deserved, meaning I didn't give them what they deserved there on earth, on their life on earth. And I will bring forth shining light those who loved my Kadash name, meaning that we're going to be transformed to shining bodies with shining light. And I will seat each on the throne of his honor, and they shall be resplendent for generations without number, for righteousness is the judgment of Yahuwah, for to the trustworthy he will give trustworthiness, and the dwelling of upright or righteous paths, and they shall see those who are born in darkness led into darkness, while the righteous shall be resplendent. And the transgressors shall cry aloud and see them resplendent. They indeed will go where days and seasons are prescribed for them. So basically, days and seasons on the appointed time is prescribed for the transgressors, those that will be sentenced in the lake of fire.
But here it describes how they are brought back to physical life, not spiritual life, in Ezekiel 37.
Yep, verses 1 to 14. So Ezekiel chapter 37, verses 1 to 14, talk about, let's see here. And the hand of Yahuwah is upon me and carried me out in the spirit of Yahuwah and set me down in the midst of the valley, which was full of bones, caused me to pass by them round about. Behold, there were very many in the open valley, and lo, they were very dry. He said unto me, Son of man, can these bones live? And I answered, O Master Yahuwah, you know. Again he said to me, prophesy upon these bones, and say to them, O you dry bones, hear the word of Yahuwah. Thus says the sovereign Yahuwah unto these bones, behold, I will cause breath to enter into you. You shall live, and I will lay sinews upon you, and will bring up flesh upon you, and cover you with skin, and put breath in you, and you shall live, and you shall know that I am Yahuwah. So I prophesied as I was commanded, and as I prophesied, there was a noise, behold, a shaking, and bones came together, bone to his bone. When I beheld, lo, the sinews and the flesh came up upon them, and the skin covered them above, but there was no breath in them. Then he said to me, prophesy unto the wind, prophesy, son of man. Say to the wind, thus says the sovereign Yahuwah, come from the four winds, O breathe upon these slain, that they may live. So I prophesied as he commanded me, and breath came into them, and they lived, and stood upon their feet, an exceeding great army. Then he said to me, Son of man, these bones are the whole house of Yashrael. Behold, they say, our bones are dried, and our hope is lost. We are cut off for our parts. Therefore prophesy and say unto them, thus says the sovereign Yahuwah, behold, O my people, I will open your graves and cause you to come up out of your graves and bring you into the land of Yashrael. And you shall know that I am Yahuwah when you have opened your graves, O my people, and brought you up out of your graves, and shall put my spirit in you, and you shall live, and I shall place you in your own land. Then shall you know that I, Yahuwah, have spoken and performed it, says Yahuwah. Which is very interesting that this can be like a multiple type of thing, because even though the first fruits did not go into actually their own land, but Yahushua, when he died, you had some first fruits come up out of the grave. And I remember seeing that in the Brit Hadashah, and I don't know, it's like a physical waking up out of the grave. And then they went back to the grave, but it's kind of like maybe that was like a foreshadowing maybe of what was going to happen with the second resurrection.
These are raised up physically, and they're judged. They live for a time, and they're judged according to their works in their new lives. that means that most of them, I would hope, would choose to live righteously because the books are open to them. Meaning all these books that we read here, the book of Ezekiel, the book of Isaiah, the book of Jeremiah, and the books of Torah, all of these books, and even the Brit Hadasha, these books are open to them, so that they are given the one and only chance to know Yahweh.
Also, the book of their own deeds. Yeah. It also talks about that books will be open and they will be given a repayment according to what they've done in their life.
They will see what they've done.
I believe there's a book of evil deeds for each person, and then there's a book of their good, righteous deeds, like your works of righteousness, which Paul talks about in Second Titus. Titus chapter 2, verse 14 talks about that. We had our own works of righteousness that we already have, but he saved us by his mercy. So each person has a works of righteousness. Like even an unbeliever has some type of works of righteousness that they don't even know about. Like they'll know not to steal. They'll know not to do stuff that's just out of their own conscience. So that's even a righteous deed. Like like two deeds is basically anything we know we should be doing. Like I think Jacob, the brother Yahusha, talks about that. He talks about if you know to not do something that is to sin.
Mm-hmm.
So
this verse 31 is applicable. Yeah. You shall remember your evil ways and your deeds that were not to.
Yeah, that can apply to many people. I think that's like applying to every person
and
that
loathe yourselves in your own eyes.
Yeah.
Because we who are being called now, we're being judged now, and we do loathe ourselves.
Yeah.
I can speak
I definitely loathe my past self when I walk to the course of this world. According to the spirit that was working with children of disobedience, as Paul says,
and we all
my old self. And that's why I believe spiritually it comes first before physical. That's why you have like the we have a rebirth spiritually now, and then we're going to have a rebirth physically, which is what we just read about.
Well, we are only not. Let me explain that because it didn't sound right to me anyway. Spiritually, it's like we have the Ruach placed in us. That way, we can learn from the Ruach.
Yeah. We
are not yet spirits. I'm just making that point.
That reborn spiritually means you're reborn in your heart.
I'm just trying to make people understand what you were saying.
Yeah, I mean,
it didn't sound quite right.
No. What I mean by reborn spiritually, we're talking about 2 Corinthians 5:7. You're a new creation inside, not physically. Meaning that no longer are you that person you used to be. You're a new person. Your creature spiritually inside, not Somehow she got unmuted. I don't know if I clicked that. All right, so basically what I was trying to say, I don't want to confuse anyone, but 2 Corinthians 5:17 says, when you are in Messiah, you are no longer your old self. You are a new creation.
Right.
Inside, you are a new creation. Spiritually. I don't mean that we're a new spirit. Right?
No, that doesn't happen until...
Yeah, so maybe Sally has something to say. I think she was trying to unmute herself. Yeah, go ahead, Sally.
I just wanted to say that one huge factor that will create a huge change is that when mankind is resurrected, they won't have any unclean spirits. All of the unclean spirits will be in the great abyss at that time. And so their chances of having a positive attitude and wanting to change will be much greater.
Yes. Yeah. And also, we're going to be perfect in the resurrection. He's going to make us the way he wanted us to be, which was perfect without sin. And that's the way he creates his sons of Elohim, that he meant for them to be perfect. He even said, even before Hashatan fell, he said, you were perfect in your ways, blameless in your ways, until lawlessness was found in you. Hashatan knowingly fell into sin. and he knowingly did that. So his Malachim, his angels, were made perfect. That's why you it's that contrast that you will be like the Malachim in heaven, because we will be made perfect. Genetically, you will be perfect. You won't have indwelling sin anymore. That's causing that stupid obstinance in our flesh that's making us fight against Yahuwah's law.
And you won't have the rulership of Hashatan coming over you to make you feel like, oh, I gotta do this or that. No, you will have the rulership of Yahweh, which is pure, which is righteous. And then you will only desire to be righteous and do righteous things. And this is why when these people come back to physical life and are judged by what they do, there's a greater chance that they will choose righteousness.
Yeah, couldn't say it better myself.
Sally, did you have something else to say?
No, that was the main point I wanted to make, was that with no unclean spirits roaming around every corner and every person you meet, that everyone's chances will be much, much greater. They'll have a much more positive, receptive attitude towards accepting what is being offered to them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we agree.
Because we know that they are thrown into the lake of fire with Hashatan.
Right.
I believe I read that earlier.
Yep. So let's see here. So I think we got a couple more to go to. I don't believe we did the Yashiyahu one yet.
We did not.
So let's go. Isaiah chapter 2 verse 3 says, this is actually referring to multiple contexts actually. And many people shall go and say, come ye and let us go up to the mount of Yahuwah, to the house of the Elohim of Jacob, and he will teach us his ways. We will walk in his paths, for out of Sion shall go forth the law and the word of Yahuwah from Yerushalayim. Now, this can be for the millennial, but also it can be for after the judgment and
during the great white throne judgment.
Or during the white throne judgment. Where they now know his word and now they want to obey it.
Mm-hmm.
So this is actually talking about non-believers as far as I know. It's talking about people that don't even know you. They're saying, let us...
Yeah, it says in verse 4, and he shall judge between the nations and shall reprove many people. And they shall beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation will not come against nation or lift up sword against nation. Neither teach battle anymore.
All right, so that was Isaiah chapter 2, verses 3 to 4. Now, also, let's go to Revelations 22:17. We haven't done that one yet. And the Spirit and the bride say, Revelations 22, verse 17, and let them that hear say, oh no, the Spirit and the bride say, come, and let him that hears say, come. Let them that is thirsty come, and whosoever will, let him take the water of life freely. Now, which is very interesting because a good cross-reference to this, I don't think we've done it yet, is John, this actually references the last great day right here. John chapter 7, verse 37 says, in the last day, that great day of the feast, as restored in King James says, Yahusha stood and cried, saying, if any man thirst, let him come unto me and drink. Now this is very important because this is Yahusha basically pleading with those that don't know him, that the people in the second resurrection probably would have never even heard of the sword in their lifetime on earth. So this is very important spiritually, this verse, talking about people coming to him and allowing his rivers of living water in verse 38. He that believes on me, as the scripture has said, meaning that the Tanakh has spoken of him, out of his belly shall flow rivers of living water. So he is basically crying out to those that don't know him, haven't heard the message of Yahusha, that have not heard the glad tidings of Messiah preached to them, that they would come to him, accept those free waters without pain. So,
And you can also cross that with John 4,
verse 14.
verse 14.
Yeah, John 4, chapter 14. Oh no, John
Verse
chapter
14.
4, verse 14. Sorry, I'm tongue-tied today. Sorry, audience. But whosoever drinks of the water that I shall give him shall never thirst, but the water that I shall give him shall be in him a well of water spring up into everlasting life. And the woman at the well didn't understand him at first. She even goes on to say, "Sir, give me this water that I thirst not, neither come here to draw." Because, we as human creatures always think in the physical, the earthly. Yahushua says unto her, "Go, call your husband and come here." And the woman answered, said, "I have no husband." Yahushua said unto her, "You have said well, you have no husband. For you have 5 husbands. He whom you now has is not your husband. And that you have truly said." The woman has said unto him, "Sir, I perceive that you are a prophet. Our fathers worshipped in this mountain. You say that Jerusalem is a place where men ought to worship." Yahushua said unto her, "Woman, believe me, the hour comes when you shall neither in this mountain nor yet at Jerusalem worship the Father. You worship what you do not know. We worship who we know, for salvation is of the Yahudim. But the hour comes now is when true worshipers shall worship the Father in spirit and in truth, for the Father seeks such to worship him." It's important here because this is him basically telling her that it's about spirit and truth, and she didn't understand. She was thinking of the physical. He's talking about living waters, and she's like, "Where can I get this water?" And he's talking about the spirit. He's talking about spirit and truth. And he's talking about that because she was a Samaritan. She didn't know what she was worshiping.
John 6:35 also gives a witness to it.
Yeah, 6:35.
And Yahusha said to them, "I am the living Elohim. I am the bread of life. He who comes to me shall not be hungry at all, and he who trusts in me shall not be thirsty at all."
Yeah. And that's the bread that he even says in somewhere else, "I am the true bread of heaven. Your fathers were given the manna, but I am the true bread of heaven that comes down from heaven." So meaning that he's the words that comes down from the Father. And so a lot of times Yahushua spoke in parables that he speaks spiritual matters, and we would think of it in the physical because we just didn't understand stuff.
Can you quickly bring up that scripture?
Yes.
Somewhere else doesn't help people.
Yeah. All right, so let's see here. "I am the bread of heaven. I am the true bread of heaven." John chapter 6, verse 51. So it's the same chapter that reiterates down here. Yeah. Let's see here. I'm going to start at verse 49. "Your fathers did eat manna in the wilderness and are dead. This is the bread which comes down from heaven, that a man may eat thereof and not die. I am the living bread which came down from heaven. If any man eat of this bread, he shall live forever. And the bread that I will give is my flesh." They're going to get confused by this. "Which I will give for the life of the world." And then obviously the Yahudim are like, therefore they strove against themselves, not understanding, saying, "How can this man give us flesh to eat?" Because they know they're not supposed to be cannibalists, they're not supposed to drink his blood. So a lot of times Yahushua would say, "You will have no part with me." Even the disciples got confused. "You will have no part with me, if you don't eat my flesh and drink my blood." They thought it was literal, like physical, like eating his flesh and drinking his blood, but he's actually talking about eating bread that metaphorically is referring to his flesh, and drinking the blood, that basically talking about
bread and
the
wine.
bread and wine.
We have
So-
Passover.
So he was referring to what the future would be known as the Passover meal, and where he says, every time you do this, keep the Passover, do this in remembrance of me. But when he first said that to the disciples, even they were like, what? We're going to eat his flesh and drink his blood? So he had to explain that to them. He had to be like, I'm talking spiritual things, not physical things. And I'll go to that verse. It's, hold on a second. They were actually, let me see here. If you do not eat my flesh and drink my blood. So this is John 6:53. Right? It's like next verse. Yeah, literally next verse. Then Yahushua said unto them, Verily, verily, I say unto you, you eat the flesh of the Son of Adam, the Son of Man, and drink his blood, you have no life in you. Whosoever eats my flesh and drinks my blood has eternal life, and I will raise him up at the last day. For my flesh is meat indeed, and my blood is drink indeed. He that eats my flesh and drinks my blood dwells in me, and I in him. As the living Father has sent me, and I live by the Father, so he that eats me, even he shall live by me. This is that bread which came down from heaven, not as your fathers did eat manna and are dead. He that eats of this bread shall live forever. These things he said in the synagogue as he taught in Capernaum. Many therefore of his disciples, when they heard this, said, This is a hard saying. How can I hear it? How can hear it? When Yahushua knew in himself that his disciples murmured at it, he said to them, Does this offend you? What? And if you shall see the Son of Man ascend up where he was before, it is the Spirit that quickens the flesh, profits nothing. The words that I speak unto you, they are spirit and they are life. Meaning that he's talking spiritual matters. Doesn't mean literally his flesh and his blood. So, just for people that are first hearing this for the first time, he's not literally saying go, commit cannibalism and drink blood, because that would be against the Torah. So that's why they were confused too, is because the Torah talks about don't drink blood because life is in the blood.
Yeah.
So
we know not to drink actual blood.
So the Pharisees just were confused, and his own disciples were confused. They're like, is he literally speaking?
No.
So
bread and wine.
Yeah, bread and wine. So anyway, we just wanted to bring that up because he talks about he's the true bread, that their fathers ate manna and died and didn't have eternal life yet. And that those that eat the true bread, meaning Yahushua, that take in the true word of the Father, have eternal life.
In 2 Corinthians 5:9-11, it's another scripture that was brought up to us. So we also make it our aim to be well-pleasing to him, Messiah, whether being at home or being away from home, for we all have to appear before the judgment seat of Messiah, in order for each one to receive according to what he has done in the body, whether good or evil. Now our time of judgment is now, but it'll be the time of judgment for most people during this great white throne judgment period, which this day pictures. Knowing therefore the reverence of Yahuwah, we persuade men, but we have been made manifest to Elohim, and I also trust in your consciences to have been manifested, which this is a very vague translation. Do you have anything better on that?
Which verse is that?
Verses 10 or 11.
Yeah. For we must all appear before the judgment seat of the Messiah, that everyone may receive things done in his body, according to that he has done, whether it be good or whether it be true or bad. Knowing therefore the terror of Yahuwah, we persuade men, but we are made manifest unto Yahuwah, and I trust also are made manifest in your consciences. So meaning that whatever you've done in your life will be manifested to the Father on that very day of the judgment seat of Messiah. And it's even manifested in your conscience. Your conscience knows of the wickedness that you have done in your life.
And he will tell you, if you don't want to hear it, you'll hear it anyway.
Yeah. So, meaning that we should be fearful Father. That's why it says, knowing therefore the terror of Yahuwah, verse 11. So we need to be fearful of the Father that we're not continuing in lawlessness.
And he knows our thoughts. He knows our motivations. And he witnesses his spirit with our spirit that he knows.
Yep.
And that's all I want to say about that, because that's how he judges us.
Divides between the bone and marrow.
Say that a little bit louder, Dennis. No one can hear you.
Divides like a sharp-edged sword. Divides between the bone and marrow.
And that's in the scriptures also somewhere.
Yep. Let me see. Yeah, I think Ephesians. No. Hebrews 4:11, I believe, where it talks about he judges the intentions of the heart.
Yeah.
Hebrews 4:12. For the word of Yahuwah is quick, powerful, and sharper than any two-edged sword, piercing even to dividing, as under a spirit. It's really weird how the King James says soul and spirit.
Mine says for the word of Yahuwah is living and working and sharper than any two-edged sword, cutting through even to the dividing of soul and spirit.
So here's the soul and spirit.
Flesh and spirit.
Yeah, it should be
being and spirit.
It should be flesh and spirit, probably.
Yeah.
That doesn't work.
Flesh and spirit.
Because how can soul is the word that's being used from spirit, and then they have spirit right after it. It's not. That's like being redundant. Yeah.
Well, soul is actually flesh.
Oh, okay. Flesh and spirit and of the joints and marrow.
Mm-hmm.
It is a discerner of thoughts and intentions of the heart. So it can test your intentions of your heart.
The intentions, motivations. Yeah. What you're thinking. Why you're thinking it.
Yes, it tests your mind, your thoughts, and your heart.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, your thoughts are connected to your heart.
And to your joints and marrow. It's all the same. Spirit and flesh is all intertwined together.
I actually wanted to also go to Deuteronomy 28. We haven't read that yet. I think we'll
because this is a time of judgment. This is why we're going to Deuteronomy 28.
This is also a warning that if you're obedient, this is what you are repaid for when Yahushua comes back. He says, "I will pay everyone according to their works." These
are the physical
Baruch
rewards.
Barakings and curses.
We read some of the spiritual rewards in this book, Enoch.
So the physical rewards and curses, the physical two rewards and bad rewards are in Deuteronomy 28. It shows that it shall come to pass if you shall hearken diligently to the voice of Yahuwah thy Elohim to observe and to do all his commandments, which I command you this day. All means all. That Yahuwah your Elohim will set you on high above all the nations of the earth. So that's the first Baraki, or that's where you're going to be brutal. First is that you will be above all of the nations of the earth. And all of these Barakings shall come on you and overtake you if you shall hearken to the voice of Yahuwah thy Elohim. Baruch shall you be in the city, and Baruch shall you be in the field. Baruch shall be the fruit of your body, and the fruit of your ground, and the fruit of your cattle, the increase of your kin, and the flocks of your sheep. So your harvest will reap the reward. Baruch shall be the basket in your store. Baruch shall you be when you come in, and shall you be when you go out. Yahuwah shall cause your enemies that rise against you to be smitten before your face. They shall come out against you one way and flee before you 7 ways. So that's another one right there in verse 7, that we're obedient. We don't have to worry about our enemies. Yahuwah's going to make our enemies flee before us.
Absolutely. Yahuwah establishes you as a Kadesh people to himself, as he is sworn to you, if you guard his commands.
And it says, Yahuwah shall command a barraking upon you in your storehouses, and in all you settle there your hand unto. He shall Baruch you in the land which Yahuwah thy Elohim gives you. Yahuwah shall establish you a set apart people unto himself. And he has sworn unto you, if you shall keep the commandments, Yahuwah thy Elohim, and walk in his ways, all the people of the earth shall see that you are called by the name of Yahuwah, and they shall be afraid of you. And Yahuwah shall make you plenteous in goods, and the fruit of your body, and your cattle, and the fruit of your ground, in the land which Yahuwah swore unto your fathers to give you. Yahuwah shall open unto you his good treasure, the heavens, or heaven, to give the rain unto your land in its season, to Baruch all the work of your hand, and you shall lend unto many nations, and you shall not borrow. Meaning that you're going to have so much increase, and not just in goods, but actually it seems like in monetary things, that you could lend to others, but you'll never need to borrow. So that's another.
Verse 13 says, that will make you the head, not the tail.
Exactly. Yep, so verse 13 says, the will make you the head, not the tail. You shall be above only, and you shall not be beneath. You shall hearken unto the commandments of Yahuwah thy Elohim, which I command you this day to observe and to do them. And you shall not go aside from any of the words which I command you this day to the right or to the left, to go after other mighty ones, to serve them.
And I don't think we need to go into all of the curses, because you know that curses are the opposite of what we just read.
Yeah.
Everyone should want to obey Yahweh, to have these wonderful baraka, which is plenty in all things. Everything that you could imagine wanting, you have all of it if you obey him, but none of it if you disobey. And then, as we read in the book of Enoch, there are spiritual blessings and curses. And maybe you want to reread some of these. I thought that this was going to be the last thing we read.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess the really important one of this chapter would be right where it talks about the wicked, their bodies have been repaid by you, or those who have been put to shame by wicked men.
That's the good people put to shame by the wicked.
Okay. So this is actually the repayment for the ones that are humble and righteous. And believers, it says, those who have afflicted their bodies have been repaid by you, who have those who have been put to shame by wicked men. You love you who have loved neither gold nor silver. So basically, what I read before is that not loving the things of the world, you're going to be repaid for forsaking your life, to lose your physical life on this earth, that Yahushua is going to give eternal life to you for that. So, and the wicked, vice versa, they held on to their life, this life. Now they're going to have no life after life, be destroyed. So, to kind of paraphrase that, starts talking about not regarding earthly food or any pleasures in this life as anything, meaning that they didn't hold on to things in this life, the righteous, and all the barakah destined for them I have counted in the books, and he has assigned them their repayment. They have found to be such as loved heaven more than their life in the world. Like I said before, they loved the heavens. They stored up their treasure in heaven instead of on earth, like Yahushua says. And it says, they were trodden underfoot of wicked men and experienced abuse and violence from them, and were put to shame, yet they Baruch you. Now, this is important because Yahushua in Matthew 5 says, Baruch are those that are persecuted for righteousness' sake, that are actually, you will be hated for my name's sake. So this is, what he says is pretty much taken from here in Enoch chapter 108.
And this is not going to happen to us. Don't think it's not going to happen. If you are doing righteous works and you're obeying Yahweh, the world is going to hate you and come against you and perhaps put some of you to death. it will put some of us to death, because it tells us in Revelation that that's what's going to happen. And I would like to end with a song.
Yeah, sure. All right, so before Shoshana ends with a song, Sally, had anything that came to your mind while we were reading all this?
I was just enjoying listening to you guys, but thank you anyway. I agree with everything you said.
All right.
Both of you said.
Okay, so Shoshana, you just want me to play one of your songs I have? All right, okay. All right.
Because this goes right along with what we were saying, that we should be, and it comes straight out of the scriptures. It's, I think in John, where it says, love not the world. Love not the world, neither the things that are in this world. If a man loves the world, the love of the Father is not in him. So love not this world, for the things that are in the world, the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life is not the Father's, but is of this world. So love not the world, for the world passes away, and the lust thereof. But he that does the will of Yahweh shall abide forever. Amen.
Hallelujah. All right, so hope you guys enjoyed this message today, and hopefully if you are not keeping tours and the feast days and all that, hopefully this will encourage you to go deeper into the Father's Word and actually be convicted by the set-apart Spirit to start keeping these feast days and seeing the meaning of these feast days. So just want to do that, you guys. Hopefully, moved by this message. Hopefully, you got something from it. This brother Doug here with my sister Shoshana, my brother Dennis, and our sister Sally. Have a great rest of your day. Shalom.
Shalom.
Shalom. Thank you.
You're welcome.